Once upon a time, in a forest so old that even the oldest trees had forgotten their own names, there lived a little witch. Her name was Alara. She lived alone in a crooked little cottage at the very edge of the woods, where the trees grew tall enough to touch the clouds, and the moonlight came through the branches in silver ribbons. The cottage was small, very small. It had a round wooden door, a chimney that always leaned slightly to the left, and windows that glowed warmly whenever the sun went down. Inside were shelves, hundreds of shelves, and on those shelves were jars, little jars, big jars, round jars, blue jars, and green jars, and one very peculiar purple jar that Alara had been told never to open. Not that she knew what was inside, she'd been simply told not to, and witches, as everyone knows, are very good at following mysterious instructions. Usually. Alara was not a particularly frightening witch. She didn't turn people into frogs. She didn't curse wandering knights. She didn't live in a castle surrounded by poisonous thorns. Instead, she brewed tea, she grew herbs, she repaired broken charms. She helped lost animals find their way home. And most importantly, she collected stars. Not real stars, of course. At least, that was what she told everyone. Every evening, just as the sun disappeared beyond the trees, Alara would step outside her cottage, carrying a little lantern. She would walk to the highest hill in the forest, then she would sit beneath the oldest tree and look up. 1, 2, 3. She counted them every night. She knew every constellation by heart. The hunter, the swan, the fox, the sleeping queen, and her favorite, the little witch. It was a tiny constellation hidden between two much brighter stars. Most people couldn't see it, but Alara could. She liked to imagine that it was watching over her, just as she watched over the forest. And whenever a star fell from the sky, Alara would collect it. She would catch the little falling light inside a glass jar, close the lid, and whisper, "Rest now, little star." Then she would place it safely on her shelf. Her collection grew soft, slowly. 1 star, then 2, then 5, then 20. Every jar gave off a tiny glow. Soon Alara's cottage was never completely dark, even in the deepest part of night. There was always a gentle golden shimmer coming from the shelves. It made the cottage feel warm, safe, like a little pocket of night sky hidden among the trees. But one evening, something was wrong. Alara knew it immediately. She stepped outside. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Usually the owls would be calling, the crickets would be singing, the leaves would rustle gently in the wind. But tonight, nothing. Alara looked upward, her eyes widened. There were fewer stars. Only a few scattered lights remained in the sky. She counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 stars. Lara stared. That couldn't be right. There should have been hundreds, thousands, millions. She ran back inside her cottage. She grabbed her old astronomy book from the shelf and quickly opened it. Pages fluttered beneath her fingers. There. Picture of the night sky. Every constellation was there, every star. When Alara looked back outside, the stars in the book didn't match the sky. She turned another page, then another. Her heart began to beat faster. The stars were disappearing. Not falling, not moving. Disappearing. 1 by one. Alara hurried back inside. She looked toward the forest, and there, between the trees, she saw something. A tiny light, floating just above the ground. It moved slowly, almost like a firefly. Lara followed it through the trees, past the old oak, across the stream, up the hill. The little light disappeared behind a curtain of vines. Lara pushed the vines aside. Behind them was a narrow path she had never seen before. That's strange. She stepped onto the path. The forest seemed different here. The trees were taller, the air was colder, and above her there were no stars at all. Alara continued walking. The little star remained ahead of her, always just far enough away that she couldn't catch it, till finally she reached a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood an enormous stone, and sitting behind it was a creature. Alara stopped. It looked like a fox, but not quite. Its fur shimmered like the night sky. Tiny specks of light moved through its coat. Its tail was enormous, and every time it moved, little sparks floated from the tip. The creature looked at Alara, and then it spoke. "You shouldn't be here." Alara nearly dropped her lantern. "You can talk?" The fox tilted its head. "So can you." Alara blinked. "That's different." "Why?" "Because I'm a witch." The fox thought about this, then nodded. "That seems reasonable." Alara stared at it. "You've been taking the stars." The fox lowered its head for a moment. Then it said nothing. Then it whispered, "Yes." Alara tightened her grip around the lantern. "Why?" The fox looked toward the empty sky. "Because they're lonely." Alara frowned. "Stars aren't lonely." The fox looked at her. "How do you know?" She didn't have an answer. The fox turned toward the stone. Behind it was a small hollow in the earth. Inside were hundreds of stars. Thousands. They weren't dead. They weren't broken. They were sleeping. Soft little lights floating together like fireflies. Alara stepped closer. "They're beautiful." The fox nodded. "I found them falling. You could have returned them." "I couldn't." "Why?" Fox looked away. "Because I don't know how to put them back." Alara knelt beside the hollow. She reached towards one of the stars. It floated gently into her palm. Warm, like holding a tiny candle. She closed her fingers around it, then opened them again. The star was still there. "Why did you take them?" The fox was quiet for a long time. When it said, "Because the sky took something from me first." Alara looked at it. "What?" The fox's ears lowered. "My family?" The forest became silent again. The fox stared upward. They were stars. Alara's expression softened. "Your family?" Fox nodded. "They lived in the sky. They watched over this forest. Every night they shone above these trees." The fox's voice became quieter. Then one night, they vanished. Alara looked at the sleeping stars. "You thought the sky had stolen them?" "Yes." "So you started stealing stars too?" "Yes." "To make the sky feel lonely?" The fox nodded. Alara sat beside it for a while. Neither of them spoke. But Alara smiled gently. "I don't think your family was stolen." The fox looked at her. "What do you mean?" Alara pointed toward the sky. "Look." Fox followed her gaze. There was one star remaining. A single bright point of light. Alara recognized it immediately. The little witch. She smiled. Sometimes stars disappear because they're traveling. Traveling where? Somewhere they haven't been before. The fox looked confused. Can stars travel? Alara nodded. Witches can. She tapped her chest. And foxes can. She gently tapped the fox's nose. So perhaps... She looked toward the sleeping stars. Stars can too. The fox's eyes began to glow. But where would they go? Alara thought. Perhaps they became something else. Like what? She looked around the forest. Moonlight. The fox looked at the trees. Or fireflies. She pointed towards a stream. Or reflections in water. She placed her hand over her heart. Or memories. The fox was silent. Then one small tear rolled down its cheek. It wasn't an ordinary tear. It was made of starlight. When it touched the ground, a tiny flower appeared. The fox stared at it. Alara smiled. See? The fox gently touched the flower with its paw. The first time it smiled. Alara stood. Come on. Where? Home. The fox looked at the sleeping stars. What about them? Alara held out her lantern. Take them with us. Together? The witch and the fox carried the stars back through the forest. It took all night. They made several trips. Alara carried the smallest jars, the fox carried the largest. And slowly the empty clearing began to glow less brightly, while Alara's cottage grew brighter. Every star was safely inside her home. The fox sat beside the fireplace. Alara made tea. She poured one cup for herself, one very small cup for the fox. Fox sniffed it. What is it? Chamomile? Will it help? With what? Everything. Alara smiled. No. She had it over, but it might help a little. The fox drank, made a face. I don't like it. Alara laughed. You don't have to. Outside, the sun began to rise. The first golden rays slipped through the trees. Alara looked toward the sky. There were still only a handful of stars, but she wasn't worried anymore. She knew they would return, eventually. That evening, Alara climbed the hill again. The fox followed. They sat beneath the altar's tree together. They looked up. One star appeared, then another, then another. The sky slowly filled with light. The constellations returned.
Your clients dream big. Your agency builds bigger.
The dragon, the swan, the fox, the hunter, and finally the little witch. The fox stared upward. Do you think they're here? Lara smiled. I think so. How do you know? She rested her head against the tree, because sometimes, she whispered, the things we lose aren't really gone. They're just shining somewhere we can't see. The fox leaned against her. Two of them stayed there beneath the stars, until their eyes became heavy. The forest whispered around them. The leaves rustled. The stream sang softly. The moon rose above the trees, and somewhere far away, a tiny star fell from the sky. Alara opened one sleepy eye. She reached for her silver lantern. The little star drifted gently into her hands. She smiled. Rest now, little star. She placed it carefully inside her lantern. Then she closed her eyes, and for the first time in many years, Alara wasn't alone. She had a fox beside her, a cottage full of stars, and an entire sky watching over them. So, if you ever find yourself awake late at night, and you look toward the sky and notice one little star shining brighter than all the others, perhaps, just perhaps, that's Alara, sitting beneath the oldest tree, holding her silver lantern, waiting patiently for the next little star to fall. And if you see her, don't be afraid. Just close your eyes. Take a slow breath in. And let it out. Because the stars are watching. The forest is sleeping. The little fox is dreaming. And you are safe. Good night, little star. Sleep well. And remember, even when you cannot see them, the stars are still there. Always. Good night.